Welcome back to another class on Evean Hazaer Halacha series. We are in Siman Aleph in Halacha Yud in the Ptachei Tשובה in Ot Tet Vav. Today's class will be part 12L. We want to analyze the second reason that the Ptachei Tשובה gave in the previous class. The language of the Ptachei Tשובה was, or Dilma, or maybe, Av benishtadech acher yud gimel shanim, that even if the shidduch happened after 13 years of age, hitir mitam simanim, Hacham Tzvi allowed the boy to go ahead and get married to the mishudechet, for the reason being is the boy was missing the simanim, which is the two hairs. Rabotai, when you look at the statement, it seems simple, but we have over here a slight of a problem. Why? Chacham Tzvi never spoke about a case where the shidduch happened after 13 years of age. We never spoke about that situation. Chacham Tzvi's situation was, we had a katan, that a yivama fell to him. Afterwards came the father, and he did a shidduch with a certain girl, but this whole process happened while he was still a minor. Only afterwards he became 13 years of age and he was missing two hairs. Came the Chacham Tzvi said, it is mutar for him to marry the mishudechet. So really, Chacham Tzvi's case is, when did the shidduch happen? While he was a minor. Ptachei Teshuva's case is that the shidduch happened even after 13 years of age. We have to understand, Rabotai, what is the Ptachei Teshuva coming to teach us? Now this is very important. Whenever you learn Shulchan Aruch, Rishonim, Achronim, Gemara, whenever you see the language of Af, Afilu, Gam, it's coming to teach you something else. Besides what it is saying, it's coming to teach you something else. If we're going to look into the word af, it says over here, I wrote over here, Hamila af chashuv mi'od. The word af is very important. When you look into the language of the Ptachei Teshuvah, he says, Av benishtadech acher yud gimel shanim. So really, he's not contradicting the case of Chacham Tzvi. Okay, this is the case of Chacham Tzvi. One second, guys. Let's just put it like this. All right, let's do it like that. Okay, so this way is going to be simple to understand. The case of the Ptachei Teshuvah is really not in contradiction with the case of Chacham Tzvi. Why? Because the Ptachei Teshuvah is adding something. He's using the word af. Even if the shidduch would happen after 13 years of age, we're going to tell you Chacham Tzvi is going to allow, for the reason being that the boy is missing two hairs. So what does the word af do? Not only if the shidduch happened when he was a minor, we're going to tell you, of course, he's allowed to go ahead and get married to the mishudechet, but comes the Ptachei Teshuvah, he tells you, I could even learn in the words of the Chacham Tzvi that, but even if the shidduch happened after 13 years of age, again, where he's missing the two hairs, still I'm going to tell you, the Chacham Tzvi is going to agree to tell you, mutar to marry the mishudechet. He's allowed to go ahead and get married to the proposed girl that was arranged for him. Why? Because of the two hairs that he is missing. Common denominator in the case of the katan minor, or if the shidduch happened while he was a minor, or if the shidduch happened when he was 13 years of age, but missing two hairs, like the case of the Ptachei Teshuvah, the common denominator is, in both cases, he can't give the chalitza. A minor cannot give the chalitza. And a boy who's 13 years of age but he has no two hairs cannot also give the chalitza. But in reality, they are both saying one and the same thing. Why? If we're going to look into the case of Chacham Tzvi, we're dealing with a minor at all times. But eventually, when did he get married? At the age of 13, when he was missing the simanim, we're going to tell you mutar to marry the mishudechet. And then after, when he's going to have the 2 hairs, he's going to tell you, go ahead and give the chalitza to the yivama. Good, take that now. And it makes no difference that if the shidduch happened while he was a minor, or even if the shidduch happened when he was 13 years of age. Why? Because I don't care if he's a minor and he has no 2 hairs. So basically I'm looking at it like this. If he's a minor, for sure he has no 2 hairs. So therefore he's not in a state of giving a girl a chalitza. That's why we have to wait until he becomes older. So I don't care, he could be 13 years old, 14 years old, 15 years old. But if he does not have 2 hairs, he cannot give the chalitza. So therefore it makes no difference if the shidduch happened when he was a minor or if the shidduch happened when he was 13 years of age. Because again, he's really not a minor at the age of 13. But the fact being is, at the age of 13, he's still not fully mature. So if he's not fully mature because he's missing the 2 hairs, so basically I'm looking at these cases as one and the same. So what the Pidchei Teshuva is telling us is like this, that not only if the shidduch would happen when he was a katan, we're going to tell you it's mutar for the boy to go ahead and get married to the mishudechet, but he says even if the shidduch would happen after he was 13 years of age, but the fact that the 2 hairs were missing, we're going to tell you he's still allowed to go ahead and marry the mishudechet. The bottom line is, when are we going to tell you that this boy is not able to go ahead and marry the mishudechet? That's only if he had 2 hairs. Once the boy has 2 hairs, in our situation, let's say like this, if the boy was, let's do this. I don't have space on the other side. 1 second, no. 1 second. Let's say if the boy had 2 hairs. Let's say the boy was 13 years old, 13 years of age, and he had 2 hairs. And the sequence played out just like the case of the Chacham Tzvi. First came the Yivama and then came the Mishudechet. Let's say while he was 13 years old, and then he had 2 hairs. First came the Yivama, then came the Mishudechet. What's going to be the halacha in this situation? We saw that in the Ramah in Siman, in Evean Hazaer, in Siman Kuf, Nun Tet, in Si'iv Hey, the Ramah said that if this is the sequence of events, since he had 2 hairs and he's able to go ahead and give the chalitza, the Ramah paskins, it's asur for him to go ahead and get married to the Mishudechet because of the cherem of Rabbeinu Gershom. However, the Ramah did say, what happens if the sequence of events was the other way around? Same case, he's 13 years old, 2 hairs, first came the Mishudechet, then came the Yivama. The Ramah in this case is going to tell you it is mutar. Why? Because the Mishudechet came first, and there's no cherem of Rabbeinu Gershom because of the Yivama. That's why, Rabotai, the case that the Pidchei Teshuva is bringing down with the Chacham Tzvi, they're giving you one common denominator. In both situations, the boy is missing the simanim, meaning he's missing the 2 hairs in order to be able to properly perform the chalitza process with the Yivama. Since that is the case, I don't care when the shidduch happened. As long as he's missing the 2 hairs, he could go ahead and marry the Mishudechet. So one more time, if the shidduch would happen when he was a minor, good, no problem. If he doesn't have 2 hairs when he's 13, he could go ahead and get married to the Mishudechet. If the shidduch would happen when he was 13 years of age and he still had no hair on him, no problem. We're going to tell you he's still allowed to go ahead and get married to the Mishudechet. In both situations, the reason being is because Rabotai, since he doesn't have 2 hairs, he's not able to do the chalitza, so therefore we will allow him to go ahead and get married to the mishudechet. Fine. Now, Rabotai, we have to understand something else. If we're going to be honest with ourselves, right, I raised the whole case of the Chacham Tzvi, but just remember the case of Chacham Tzvi. If we're going to be honest with ourselves, the Ptachei Teshuvah did not have to tell us, Av ben nishtadech achad yud gimel shanim. Why didn't the Ptachei Teshuvah just keep it simple? Why couldn't the Ptachei Teshuvah say that since the shidduch happened while he was a minor, and then he turned 13 years of age, and since he was missing the 2 hairs, that's why Chacham Tzvi says he's allowed to go ahead and get married to the Mishudechet. Why did the Ptachei Teshuvah have to add the words, Av ben nishtadech achad yud gimel shanim? Why did he have to do that? So Rabotai, this is the question right over here. But why use this case? Why use this case that even if the shidduch happened after 13 years of age? Yeah, you're agreeing with the Chacham Tzvi, you're trying to explain the Chacham Tzvi, everything's beautiful, so just keep everything while he was a minor. What was he coming to teach me by saying that even if the shidduch happened after 13 years of age? So the reason being is like this, and the Ptachei Teshuvah actually brought this down. The reason being is like this. He says, Ve'efshar, now it's possible, now that I could compare a boy who's 13 years of age and has no 2 hairs, with the case when the boy was a minor, again, he had no 2 hairs, and in both situations, I'm going to tell you that we can learn in the understanding of Chacham Tzvi that he will allow the girl and the boy to get married, and then go ahead and let the boy do the chalitza after he receives the 2 hairs. Comes the Ptachei Teshuvah now and he says like this. If that's my understanding, he says like this. Ve'efshar, and it's possible. Av lechatchila, that even initially, the best possible way, mutar l'shadech mitam zeh. One is allowed to go ahead and do the shidduch from this reason, biglal ha'seminim, meaning the reason of the 2 hairs of which are missing. Basically, what is the Ptachei Teshuvah adding? The Ptachei Teshuvah could have kept with the case of Chacham Tzvi with a minor. But the Ptachei Teshuvah wants to tell like this, that if the whole reason we want to understand that the reason why Chacham Tzvi allows the boy to go ahead and get married to the Mishudechet is because of the Simanim, so I don't care when the Shidduch happened. Let the Shidduch happen when he's a minor, or even let the Shidduch happen after he's 13 years of age. So now comes the Ptachei Teshuvah and he's telling us like this, that I could understand from there that it's possible that lichatchila one can go ahead and even do the shidduch after 13 years of age, as long as he does not have the 2 hairs. Rabotai, are you guys coming on? Are you guys understanding what I'm saying over here? Shh, 1 second. Watch this. If the Ptachei Teshuvah would not use the case of the 13 years, if the Ptachei Teshuvah would not say, Av ben nishtadech achad yud gimel shanim, that even if the shidduch happened after 13 years of age, if he wouldn't say that case, and he would have left the case, like Chacham Tzvi said, with a minor, you know what I would have thought? I would have thought like this, that if you have the katan, and the yivama falls on him, then the mishudechet falls on him, which is, this is first, this is second. I would say, in such a situation, since the shidduch happened while he was a minor, then the Chacham Tzvi will only allow you to go ahead and get married. Meaning he's going to allow the katan, once he reaches 13 years of age, to go ahead and get married to his mishudechet. But if, while he was a katan, the yivama fell on him, and now he's 13 years old, let's say the shidduch happened while he was 14 years old, and he still has no 2 hairs. Let's say the shidduch happened at 14 years old, not happened. Let's say the shidduch could happen at 14 years old. You know what I would have thought to say? No, Chacham Tzvi's situation is specifically when the Yivama came while he was a minor, the father did the shidduch when he was a minor. Let's try to keep it as this equation. But anything outside of this box, it would be asur, meaning to say that if a boy was a katan, and the Yivama fell on him. Now let's say he became 13, 14 or 15 and he's still missing the 2 hairs. I would have thought to say, maybe it's asur to even to do a shidduch. That's what I would have thought to say. That it is forbidden to even do a shidduch because look, the 2 hairs could come any moment now. While he's a cotton, I can understand. Cotton, there's nothing there. You still have to wait some time. But once he reaches the age of 13, once he reaches the age of maturity, and all I'm waiting is for the 2 hairs, who allows you to go ahead and maybe do that shidduch? Because now you might have the problem with the Chem Rabbeinu Gershom. What's going to end up happening? He's going to marry her, and then he's going to have her on his back. So maybe you're over the prohibition of the Chem Rabbeinu Gershom. That's why came the Ptachit Teshuva and he said, Av benishtadech acher yud gimel shanim. I could tell you that the understanding Chacham Tzvi could be that even if the shidduch happened after 13 years of age, you could go ahead and get married afterwards. You could even do the shidduch then, and then you could go ahead and get married. But if he would have never used that language, you would have thought maybe keep it in this box. Maybe keep it in this understanding that only with a katan, that one more time, that if a yivama fell on a minor, and then the shidduch was done with a minor, that's when Chacham Tzvi is going to tell you it's mutar. But if the yivama fell on a minor, but then the boy became, let's say, 14 years old or even 13 years old, but he still didn't have the 2 hairs, maybe not to do the shidduch. Because in this scenario, maybe Chacham Tzvi is going to tell you it is asur. Comes the Ptachit Teshuva and he tells you no. Av benishtadech acher yud gimel shanim. That even if the shidduch happened after 13 years of age, still he comes and he says right now, he uses a very important word, ve'efshar, and it's possible that we can learn in the Chacham Tzvi that even if the shidduch happened after 13 years of age, Chacham Tzvi will still allow the boy to go ahead and get married to the Mishudechet because he's missing the Simanim. Also, if that is the case, so maybe now I can learn something else from there. So maybe, and it's possible lechatchila to go ahead and do the shidduch because of the reason of the 2 hairs missing, even after the age of 13. Rabotai, I hope you guys are understanding the question. Okay, so let's go back. Let's just say the question one more time outside, and then we'll get into the Ptachit Teshuva. After we saw the language in the Ptachit Teshuva that he used Af benishtadech acher yud gimel shanim, that even if the shidduch would have happened after 13 years of age, we can understand that Chacham Tzvi would allow the boy to go ahead and get married to the Mishudechet, from the reason being, or for the fact being, that he does not have the simanim and he cannot give the chalitza. So maybe if that is the case over there, that even if the shidduch happened after 13 years of age, maybe it's possible lechatchila a person can go ahead and do a shidduch with a girl even after the yivama falls on him while he was a minor, and now he turned 13 or 14. But as long as he doesn't have the 2 hairs, still I'm going to tell you what? That he's able to go ahead and do the shidduch. It's possible to say that. Rabotai, let's read it inside. Maybe if it's not clear like this, maybe you'll get it more better inside. All right, so he says like this. So just remember the question. The question basically is right now, it's possible that even from the reason of the 2 hairs missing, one is able to go ahead and do the shidduch lechatchila after 13 years of age. Not only when he's a minor you're allowed to go ahead and do the shidduch, you're even allowed to go ahead and do the shidduch after the boy is 13 years of age. This is the way the Ptachit Teshuva wants to understand that right now. So comes the Ptachit Teshuva now and he says like this, Ve'ain b'shut Evean Hazaer. He says, look into the She'elot v'Teshuvot Evean Hazaer. Right here, b'shut Evean Hazaer. Siman lamed daled v'lamed hey. Chapter 34 and chapter 35. Al nidon kazeh mamash. On this exact case, Visham Niskar, and over there it's mentioned, Sha'asa Shidduch Achar Shenasa Ben Yud Gimel Shana, that he did the Shidduch after he was 13 years of age. Exactly the same case that we're dealing with right now. You had a boy that he was a minor and the Yivama fell on him while he was a minor. After 13 years of age, the father went, or even he himself went, and they did a Shidduch. They did a proposed marriage. But what did Evean Hazaer write? V'katav, and he wrote over there, D'lechatchila asa shelo kehogen. Lechatchila, what he did was not proper. Meaning, this is not the best way to behave. He shouldn't have done that. If the Yivama fell on him, he should have waited until the Simanim come out. One more time. If he was a minor and the Yivama fell on him and there was no shidduch, there was no proposed marriage that came on his table until he turned 13 years of age, from 13 and on, lechatchila, he should not get engaged. He should not do any proposed marriage. And this is, Rabotai, what the Ptachim wanted to tell us. We would want to understand that it's possible that even lechatchila one is allowed to go ahead and do the shidduch after 13 years of age because of the reason that the boy is missing 2 hairs. Comes the shoot Evean Hazaer, and he tells you no. This situation over here, one should not do lechatchila. So he spoke about in Evean Hazaer. So there was exactly the same case. It's just what? Sha'asa shidduch achar shenasa ben yud gimel. He went there and he did the shidduch when? After the boy turned 13 years of age. V'katav, and the Evean Hazaer wrote, D'lechatchila lo asa kehogen. Initially, this was not the proper course of action. He should not have gotten married once he reached the age of 13. We're going to see right now, however, me'achar shekvar asa, but since he already did, mutar liknos, he's allowed to go ahead and he's allowed to marry the mishudechet girl. So Rabotai, let's just do this. Let's do this. I'm just thinking if I could erase this. Let me erase this. Just want to use the board. Okay, just remember the question. In the world of the Ptachim Teshuva, we wanted to know that maybe a boy who's 13 years of age, missing, of course, 2 hairs, if you have a boy who's 30 years of age, missing 2 hairs, we wanted to learn from the Ptachim Teshuva that maybe lechatchila, he's allowed to go ahead and do a shidduch after the Yivama fell to him while he was a minor. Comes the shoot Evean Hazaer and it says no. That if we have a case where the boy is a katan, and now the Yivama fell on him, she fell, right? She became his Yivama. The Evean Hazaer will tell you that, listen, if you want to do the shidduch while he's a katan, no problem, be my guest. But to do a shidduch once he turns 13 years of age, he's going to tell you, asur to do so lechatchila. Initially, one should never do a shidduch once he turns 13. Why? Because now you put yourself in that trap of having 2 wives. Because what happens now? Now that you did the shidduch, as we see, you're allowed to get married, and in a way, you're not really transgressing because he doesn't have the 2 hairs yet. But in a way, you are going against the Chemra B'nai Gershom. You're having basically 2 wives because the Yivama in a way is your wife. And now you have this girl as your wife. So that's where comes the Evean Hazaer and he says, listen, if you are a katan and the Yivama fell on you and there was a shidduch when you turned 13 years of age, no problem. Go ahead, like the Chacham Tzvi says, you're allowed to go ahead and get married. But to tell me that if he was a katan and the Yivama fell on him when he was a minor, and now he turned 13 years of age, and now you want to go ahead and arrange a wedding for him, meaning do a shidduch proposed marriage, that Rabotai would be asur, in the world of the Evean Hazaer. So when the Pidchi Teshuva asked that maybe lechatchila you could do it after the boy turns 13 years of age, you could do the shidduch, the answer is from the Shut Evean Hazaer, it is asur. But we did see that if it already happened, but if it already happened, if you went out and you did it, mutar liknos, you're allowed to go ahead and get married. Why? Because really there's no cherem of Rabbeinu Gershom, because the whole cherem of Rabbeinu Gershom falls out on a person who's able to go ahead and do the chalitza. In our situation, if he doesn't have 2 hairs, he's not able to go ahead and do the chalitza. So let's see that one more time. V'ayin b'shut Evean Hazaer Siman lamed aleph v'lamed hey al nidon kazeh mamash. Look into the she'elot v'teshuvot Evean Hazaer in chapter 34 and chapter 35 on this exact case that is being judged at hand. V'sham nizkar, and over there is mentioned she'asa shiduch acher shenasa ben yud gimel. He made the shidduch after he turned 13 years of age. After he turned 13 years of age, V'katav, and the Evean Hazaer wrote, initially, this was not the proper course of action. However, he says, however, but after he went ahead already and he did the shidduch, mutar liknos, he's allowed to go ahead and he's allowed to marry the girl like the Chacham Tzvi told us prior in his situation where the boy was a minor. Bottom line, we are learning from over here that one is allowed to go ahead and do the shidduch when the boy is a minor, and when he turns 13 and still he's missing 2 hairs, he's allowed to go ahead and marry the mishudechet. However, if the whole situation happened that the yivama fell on him while he was a katan, and then he only is going to do the shidduch once he reaches the age of 13 years of age, we're going to tell you, don't do the shidduch. But if you did do the shidduch, we're going to tell you it is mutar for him to marry the mishudechet. Again, from the second reason, understanding that since he does not have 2 hairs, he can't give the chalitza. We're not going to hold him back from getting married. He could go ahead and get married. Eventually, once the 2 hairs are going to come, we're going to tell you to go ahead and do the chalitza. Continues the Ptach Teshuva and he says like this. V'gam nitpasa sham. Over there also is printed. Teshuva migaon morenu harav Avraham Brevda. Also in the responses from the Gaon, our master, the Rabbi Avraham Brevda, lahatir liknos. He said also it is mutar to go ahead and get married. That if a boy went ahead and he did the shidduch, whether in the minor stage, whether in the 13 years and above stage, but as long as the 2 hairs were not there, we're going to tell you that they're allowed to go ahead and marry their mishudechet. Right, so I wrote over here, Morenu. This is actually Hagaon. Hagaon Morenu Harav Avraham Brevda. He said mutar liknos. And then continues the Ptach Teshuva and he says, Vegam katav shekama geonim hiskimu l'zein sham. And also he wrote that that other geonim also agreed to this, that he's allowed to go ahead and get married to the mishudechet. Okay, so one more time, Rabotai. V'gam nitpasa sham teshuva migaon morenu harav berevda lahatir liknos. Also, it was printed in the responsa from the Gaon Morenu, our master, the Rabbi Avraham Brevda, to allow the boy to go ahead and get married to the mishudechet. V'gam katav shekama geonim, and also he wrote that other geonim also agreed to this Ayin Sham, that he's allowed to go ahead and get married to the mishudechet. Ve'ayin bishut Beit Ephraim. Look into the she'elot v'teshuvot Beit Ephraim Evean Hazaer Siman Kuf Mem Gimel Al Maaseh Kazeh, on this story. However, in his case, Naaseh Hashidduch be'odo katan, just like the case with the Chacham Tzvi, the shidduch happened while he was a minor. Ve'erich bazeh lipapel b'divrei Chacham Tzvi. He learned to analyze the words of the Chacham Tzvi. Evean Hazaer and also the Evean Hazaer that was written above. Umasik, and he concluded Gamkin lehakel. And he also concluded to be lenient that this boy is able to go ahead and get married to the Mishudechet. But one who wants to be stringent in this, he said he's from the people that are strange. Meaning to say like this, Rabota, if the halacha allows the boy to go ahead and get married to the Mishudechet, if the halacha says mutar, why in the world do you want to be stringent and refrain from allowing this boy to get married to the Mishudechet? Doesn't see a logic there. So that's what he says. He says, he concluded that also it's mutar, but anybody who's going to be stringent, it's a strange act. What they're doing is not normal, Rabotai. If there's a leniency for you to allow for something to be done, don't try to be a tzaddik and be machmer. You speak about Rabotai, geonim. Visiyam, however, Rabotai, he did conclude over there in the Shut Beit Ephraim, umikol makom, nevertheless. Okay. Let me read it for you over here before I do it over here, so it's going to become very clear. So here we have like this, Rabotai. So we had the case of the Evean Hazaer with the shidduch happening after 13 years of age. We said lechatchila he shouldn't do so, but if he did it, it's mutar for the boy to go ahead and marry the Mishudechet. Then we saw that Morena Rav Avraham Brevda also said mutar liknos. Also he's allowed to go ahead and marry the Mishudechet. V'gam kama geonim hiskimu lezeh. Also many other great rabbis also agreed to this, that the boy is allowed to go ahead and get married to the Mishudechet. And anybody who's stringent is basically not normal. Then we saw in the Shut Beit Ephraim that he had exactly the same case, but in his situation, Naaseh Shidduch be'odu katan. The Shidduch happened not when he was 13 years of age, but rather when he was a minor, like the case of the Chacham Tzvi. And he looked into the words of Chacham Tzvi and also into the words of the Evean Hazaer, and he concluded umasik gamkin lahatir. He also concluded that one is able to be. He also allowed it. Visiyam, however, the Beit Ephraim did conclude, and this is very important, Abotai. Kodem hanisuin, prior to getting married, prior to the nisuin stage, sheyeh pesher ben hayavam v'hayavama, that there should be a compromise between the yavam and the yivama. V'iten la aravon, and he should also give her a dowry, basically money, as basically like telling her, like he's buying her off, and he's explaining to her, listen, I have to do the chalitza with you because I don't want to have problems. So basically, we want to try to make a compromise between the yavam and the yivama, that after he's gonna that before the suing stage, we're gonna tell him, listen, you have to understand that once you get married and you're gonna have the two heirs, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna give her the chalitza. So in order to also make her agree to that compromise, we're asking the guy to give her a nice sum of money. So this is basically in the way we're saying we're buying her off and telling her, listen, chalitza is the best way to go. Aval, however, he says, Ima yivama lo maskima lepeshara shel bedin. What happens if the yivama, she does not agree to the compromise that the bedin is giving, that the bedin is putting on the table? Mutar lo leknos mishudech. He's allowed to go ahead and marry the mishudechet. Now, Rabota, I want to explain like this. You have to remember that whenever you're dealing with the yavam and the yivama, remember, who's the yavam? The katan is the yavam. Because why? Because now she falls on him, so he becomes the yavam. So this katan right now, when he becomes 13 years of age, we say he's allowed to go ahead and get married to mishudechet, correct? The problem with Rabotai is, who says she wants the chalitza? Maybe she wants to marry him, maybe he has a lot of money, maybe he's a good family. Who says she wants the chalitza? So in order to that there should be no hard feelings between them, we make a compromise and we tell this minor that now is 13 years of age, we tell him, listen, you're going to go ahead and you're going to move on forward with your life, but we want you to know that once you have the two heirs, you're going to give her the chalitza. But who says she's happy? So therefore came the bedin and they're making a compromise, the compromise even stronger. They're telling the minor, for example, give her $10,000. You know, like to cool her down, like to, you know, set off the problems. Give her $10,000. And then we're going to tell that let him go and get married to the Mishudechet. This is what the Beit Ephraim is suggesting. However, he says, what happens if the Yivama knows that the family is very rich, they have a lot of money? She says, no, I don't want 10,000, I want $100,000. Why 10,000? 10,000 is not going to make me happy. Why do I have to settle for Chalitza when I can go ahead and I can do Yibum, I can actually get married to him? Why would I want to settle for Chalitza? That's not enough of a compromise. If she does not like the compromise that the Beit Din is offering, no problem. We tell her, you have a nice day, she ain't getting nothing. We're going to go and tell him, listen, you go get married to your girl, meaning to your Mishudechet. Once you're going to have the 2 hairs, come and give her the Chalitza. Now, she missed out on everything. No money, nothing. All she's getting is the Chalitza. So let's see that Rabotai inside. So the Pidgei Teshuvah says, VCM, and he concluded, Umikol Makom, nevertheless, Ra'ui lebedin, it is proper for the court, for the Jewish court, Shekodem Sheyavo lidin Nisuin, that before they're going to come to marriage, Yipsharu ben Yavam v'Yavama, let them make a compromise between the Yavam and the Yavama, Be'esek HaChalitza, in the Chalitza situation, Shelo yeshum davar chotzes benhem, that they shouldn't have any separation between them. They shouldn't fight. It should be agreed upon that they're both happy to give the Chalitza. Because we know she can, or he can come into one and he says like this, who says I want to give you the Chalitza? Well, who says no, maybe give me money. Why do I have to give you money? We don't want them to have problems amongst each other. We want them to be basically on the same page. Rabotai, and I'll just tell you outside, one rabbi told me in Israel that it's scary, but it's not normal. I don't know, these people are Rishaim probably, I don't know. He told me that you have people in Israel that when they get divorced, right, meaning when they're in the process of the divorce, before even giving the get to their wives, they put ultimatums on them. So I said, what do you mean? He's like, they say that if you want me to give you the get, the house that's on your name is going to be my house. Or if you want me to give you the get, come up with 200,000 shekel. If you want me to give you the get, put the children on my name. Like, there's all these kind of ultimatums always threatening the woman. It's nuts. So this is what we don't want over here. We don't want the guy and the girl to start backing off after. We want them to both be happy with the Chalitza process. So that's why comes the Shut Beit Ephraim and he says, listen, before he goes and gets married, make sure that there's a compromise between the Yavam and the Yivama when it comes to the dealing of the Chalitza, that they shouldn't have anything that's going to separate them from eventually coming to the Chalitza stage. We want everything to go smoothly after the wedding. And let the boy also give like a dowry of money, whatever is fit in the eyes of the Beit Din. But often, so we want everything to be in a way, that immediately he's going to be fit. Once he is going to be fit for Chalitza, meaning once he's going to have the 2 hairs, Yachlotz la miyad beli shum ikuf. He's going to go ahead and he's going to do Chalitza without anything holding him back. Amnam, however, he says, Im ha'isha tikshe orpa, what happens if the woman is going to be stubborn? Shelo lefasher kifi shireh lebeit din v'titen enecha b'mamon. She's not going to be happy with the compromise that the Beit Din went out and did for her, and she placed her eyes on his money. She wants more money. The Beit Din are able to go ahead and they're able to allow him to go ahead and get married even without her wanting it or not. It has nothing to do with her. He's able to go ahead and marry the Mishudechet without a problem. He says also look into the Sheilot v'Teshuvot of Hagaon Maharash Zalman Zatal from Ledei, where he also lent in this